Hey, this is Evan Longoria of your San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is TortureCast.
It's Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, and this is episode 199. We almost made it. Of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and this is our special season preview episode for 2020. Very much delayed because of the pandemic, but as a result, we do have two special guests, some old veterans coming back onto the show. Our first special guest is a longtime Giants fan and a veteran of this podcast, having joined us for numerous in-person season previews, and of course, our fun, drunken bonusodes we recorded after Giants games at the now non-existent Zeke's Bar. But please welcome Jennifer, formerly Cosgriff, Kent.
So excited to be here. Yay for baseball being back.
Yay for baseball. And of course, our second special guest doesn't need an introduction, but I think that would be rude if we didn't do so. One of our founders of the TortureCast, now residing in Austin, Texas, the OG Willie Dills Gregory. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? I didn't realize this was 199. I should probably come back for 200, don't you think?
Yeah, you
we
know,
were going
funny...
to sneak one in, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, we thought about it.
I should probably be here for 200.
Yeah, you were here for 100 too, so.
That's right. Yeah.
And
that's crazy. Like, that's a pretty big milestone for a podcast, 200 episodes.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I remember the Instance 200 was like this gigantic deal to everybody. And at the time, when I was doing so people who don't know, I used to do a podcast called The Instance, which is a World of Warcraft podcast. And when the 200th episode happened, I was not on the show yet. I was an intern, and it was my job to put together the testimonials from fans. So everybody recorded like their, oh my God, The Instance is my favorite, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So I had to put together that montage, and man, people were freaking out. And now the show's at 600 episodes or something like that. But at the time, 200. I mean, that's that means you're legit. You've been around.
Yeah, or at least we're stupid enough to continue. Speaking of another stupid person who's doing this with me all the time, our regular co-host is here. I think you're probably in a good mood after winning a bit of a poker tournament yesterday. And I heard that you're buying us drinks after the podcast. So that's really, really cool. But yeah, Eric Nathanson on the show once again. What's up, man?
Absolutely. I'm going to send them to you. First class, so 2-3 days.
I mean, that's how you buy people drinks these days anyway, right? You just like 7-Eleven deliver to their house like a 12-pack or something. There's no more actually sitting at a bar together. That is non-existent in this.
No. It came and then they took it away.
Yeah. Eric and I were able to do that down in Vegas a couple, I guess 3 or 4 weeks ago, which was nice. We wore our masks while we were indoors. Outside, we were pretty far away. We're outside anyway, so that was kind of a brief respite in this pandemic. And yes, we are almost at episode 200, like Willie said. Yeah, if you count all the bonusodes and stuff, we're probably like at 220, but who's counting?
That's true. We were calling those like 0.5s or something, right?
Yep, so. Exactly. Yeah, we got a lot more recordings, but... Hey, we're here. We finally made it to a season. We have baseball. We had an official baseball. Well, no, it's an exhibition game last night, but it looks like unless something crazy happens, we will at least start the season. And so, I don't know. I just kind of want to get your impressions, Jen, on, what kind of was the feelings and emotions you were going through yesterday. Even though it's an exhibition game, it's the first time we're seeing, teams play against one another since spring training before this all went down.
Yeah, I almost got misty-eyed yesterday. I love baseball. It's has always been a big part of my life and my family. It's funny, we were saying opening day was supposed to be my birthday this year, and so I was like, yes, best birthday present ever. And then COVID crushed my dreams. And yesterday was my husband's birthday. So we did get baseball as a birthday present in our house. So we were very excited. The whole family, or like his parents came over and we all watched it. And it was just like the first live sporting event really for any of the major sports since March, right? Like it felt very surreal to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, golf has been coming back, but outside of that, and wrestling never went away.
That's right. Wrestling just was always there.
You can slather their bodies all over one another. Who cares?
Always count on wrestling.
Essential business.
That's right. Very essential.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the game yesterday, Willie?
No, but we won, right? 6-2?
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, we're going to go 60-0 this season, as far as I can tell. I mean, the A's are supposed to be way better than us, right?
That's right.
I think we just showed them.
They had a real starter starting for 3 innings last night, too. But
True.
And Eric, did you get to watch the game last night?
I watched highlights. I was too busy winning a poker tournament.
That's right, of course.
Austin Slater looked good, though. It was nice to see. I tried to watch some of the game late last night, but I couldn't focus enough on it. But seeing some things, it's just weird to see things like Austin Slater leading off. It was just different to be watching baseball. I watched the Cubs and the White Sox like the night before or something like that. So I'd already watched one of these weird games and felt surreal about it. I think tonight it'll be even more surreal watching them at Oracle Park for the first time.
Yeah, no kidding. So we talked about this last time, Eric, about a week ago or so, but obviously we have a lot of rule changes in this pandemic-shortened season, and some of them we don't know, or we do know, are not going to stick around. Others we're not so sure. And so we were kind of waiting for this moment to get Willie on the podcast, and of course Jen's here too. But I did put out a poll on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and it ran for about a week or so. And it was, do you like the DH in the National League? And we had an overwhelming response, 85% no way. So Eric and I have already briefly shared our opinions about it. We did not come to blows, which is good. But I just want to get your thoughts, Willie. I mean, we don't know if it's going to be permanent or not. Now, I would suspect it would be, because once you go DH, you're not going to go back.
Going back. Once
exactly.
you flip that switch, yeah.
That's what I think.
So I'm annoyed. I'm super annoyed. When I watch American League Baseball, when you're used to National League Baseball, it's very clear that there's less strategy involved when it comes to manager skill. And we were obviously really spoiled for a long time with Bochy. So we got to watch a guy who was kind of a master at that craft, do the maneuvers, the things that a manager can control in the flow of a game. And American League fans just don't get to see that. And look, maybe they don't give a crap because they'd rather watch Big Papi go up there and hammer home runs. But I personally really enjoy thinking along with the manager, pinch hitters, double switches, all of that stuff. I find it enjoyable as a fan of baseball, and we're forever going to be denied that now. There will never be another double switch ever.
I know. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, I have never been a fan of the DH. I like the old school baseball, but I think to Willie's point too, one of the things really envied about the Giants when their 3 World Series was Bochy's ability to manage a bullpen, and I think that gave him a huge advantage in the playoffs, especially against American League teams. So it'll be interesting going forward how managers like that kind of have to adjust. I hope it's not permanent.
We also got to have Bumgarner as our pitcher hitting 1 out of every 5 games. So
I know. I wonder how he
Giants,
feels about this.
We're losing a lot of advantages with this one. Until
now he's on the
Pablo is too
Diamondbacks,
fat to play third base anymore.
Well, that's why you have to be okay with the DH, because Bum's gone. So it's time to come over to the dark side.
That's a good year for it, right?
Right. I'm just saying, you'll be surprised at how you don't even realize the pitchers aren't even hitting, and you'll be surprised after a while. You won't even notice the lineup turns over. That's actually, I think, the one thing that we'll all as fans have to adjust to. When the pitcher comes up or the pitcher's spot comes up, then the lineup turns over. Sometimes when I tune into an American League game, to Willie's point, you don't know where they are in the lineup because you weren't there when they listed off the starting lineup. You don't know if, Mazzara is batting leadoff or eighth. You just don't know how that stuff goes down. But I love that strategy. I do. I'm an old school guy. I love baseball strategy. Being 2020, I think it's time. And when they added the 26-man roster spot for good before the COVID stuff, I think that was a precursor to it, because the argument from the players was you cannot take a roster spot away from a utility infielder like a Flan was back in the day. But, by adding the 26 roster, I think they'll stick with that. I don't think they'll stick with this stupid runner on second base rule after this year. But DH is definitely stick.
They shouldn't.
No, I think they've already said that that's not going to stick. It really is about player safety this year with COVID. They want to reduce the length of the games. They want to prevent all those marathon games. Now, that said, I'm sure if you added up all the innings in a year and then all the, extra innings that were on top of it, it's probably still a very small amount. So I don't think they're reducing the overall load on the players by that much. But that said, that's what they decided to do, and it's not carrying over to the playoffs for sure. So playoffs are going to be normal.
Yeah, you don't want a World Series won because some guy got a bloop single in the 10th inning.
Yeah, to lead off the 10th inning, exactly.
Yeah,
that would not be good. So yeah, I don't think that's going to stick around. That's just really for shortening games this year. And like Eric and I were talking about last time, it's like, it's already 60 games. It's already a totally unbalanced schedule. The Giants play 7 of their first 12 games in Dodger Stadium, which is absolutely bonkers to me.
Their schedule in August is insane.
Yeah, it's so, it's just a wacky year. So we're going to see some really, really weird stuff, and we'll talk about that later. But, the other thing that was going to be permanent this year before COVID was that pitchers now have to face 3 batters at a minimum. So, R.I.P. Loogie, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is weird because this is going to cost some people a career, essentially, if this is a real thing. Like, you're like you said, the Loogie guy, that's such a specialized thing that people have built 20-year careers on, right?
Yeah.
And for that to be gone, that's just strange to me. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this one either because, again, we're taking away all of the manager's ability to manage the game.
You have to wonder, though. The Loogie, granted, it becomes a specific situation, but if the Loogie comes on with 2 outs and gets the 3rd out, he does his job. He doesn't have to face another batter because the inning ends and they can bring in a new pitcher the next inning anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going to see it not really, we won't, like, I noticed it watching a Cubs-Sox game the other day because the Cubs pitcher was getting shelled, and I was like, oh, it's a shame they got to keep this guy in for one more batter. But, like, generally, if they do their job, I don't think we'll notice unless some pitchers just absolutely getting shelled right out of the gate. Because half the time, pitchers, when they're brought in, in the middle of an inning, some guy starts the inning, faces 3 batters, then bring another guy in, he gets a double play ball, they're out of the inning. We don't even think about it. I don't know. That's why I'm receptive to something like this, because Bochy was making 55 pitching changes on September 28th in the most meaningless games ever. And, how many of these games do we all sit there like, man,
that doesn't happen as often, though. Like, yeah, it does happen here and there, and for sure it's annoying. It's like when you're watching an NBA game and the last minute is a million timeouts. I get it. It's annoying, but it doesn't happen in every friggin' game, and there's other ways you can kind of get around this. We don't need the guy to come in and throw 15 pitches on the mound. We don't need, Like, they can shorten all that stuff, but here you're just you're just changing the literal rules of the game because it's annoying to watch a guy visit the mound a bunch of times. Like, I don't know. I think there's other things you could do if that's really the reason, right?
No, you can't take out commercial breaks, man. What the hell kind of thinking is that?
I know, it's all about shortening the game, and it's like, there's many other ways we can shorten this game without doing this. But you bring up a good point, Eric, that there are a lot of times, because it's 3 batters or the end of the inning, right? So there are going to be situations, roughly a third of the situations, where it's going to be a lefty on lefty with 2 outs, and they'll be done with their assignment. So,
but let's say there's 2 power-hitting righties right after that lefty, and there's 2 outs. As a manager, are you going to take the chance that if he doesn't make this out, now my lefty has to go up against 2 guys who are going to take him deep afterwards?
That's a really good point.
A crooked number instead of getting out of the inning. So,
yeah.
But even there, you pointed out that there's a new layer of strategy that's being added when you think about other layers of strategy that are being taken out of the game. So it gives the manager the opportunity to manage a little bit more by having to think like that.
I guess. One thing though is like now you'll just build your lineup not necessarily based on this is my best 4-hitter, but I'm just going to go lefty righty the entire way, just to make sure that at the end of towards the end of the game, there's not going to be the opportunity to match up.
I wonder if some managers will do that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Like just alternate. Don't worry about exact placement. Just alternate so that the bullpen has a harder time dealing with your lineup later on.
Yeah.
Especially
Jen,
since you don't have to pinch hit because you have a designated hitter now.
What do you think, Jen? What do you think Bochy would have done with Javi Lopez or Affeldt or some of these guys? I mean, how different would their World Series runs have been if this rule was in effect then?
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of when they talked about this rule. I was like, but what about Javi Lopez? Think of Javi.
Yeah.
They were so valuable to those teams. It's hard to picture them winning a World Series. I mean, I don't think they win 3 World Series without those 2 guys.
Affeldt, Affeldt saved our ass.
Yes, it's just.
Was that 2014?
Yeah, Game 7.
Yeah.
It just feels, I don't know, it's hard to imagine. It'll be a different kind of baseball, but at least it's baseball. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still pitching and hitting and catching and throwing. So.
There's still those basics of, we were talking about this too. It's like, I've always considered myself a bit more of a traditionalist, and I know that Eric does like the strategy and all that. It's not like he's some, bring in the pink fences and yeah.
That's not me. I'm just tired of watching pitchers flail. That's really the bottom line in all these rule changes. I'm so tired of watching pitchers do nothing at the plate. It adds no enjoyment. Sorry.
But I do like an occasional bullpen guy at the plate because it brings such joy.
Oh, it's so much entertainment.
It's so rare. I think we still might have those kind of instances. If we get into some 11, 12, 13 inning games, I think we'll still have some instances where the managers have to be creative.
Yeah.
That
but,
great.
at least it is the year, and Eric pointed out about Mad Bum not being on the Giants anymore, the year of the DH, and then Bochy's not the manager anymore with all these other changes. So it is kind of a clean break with 2 of the prominent guys related or connected to these 2 rule changes. So as far as Giants fans go, it's like, well, it's all went to shit anyway. Might as well just see what happens. Speaking of which, I wasn't sure what the Giants media situation was going to be this year, so I went out on a limb and applied to cover the summer camp or day of summer camp last Thursday, where they were going to have a 7.5 inning. I don't know where that comes from. 7.5 inning inter-squad game at Oracle Park, and they were like, come on up. So they just had a long list of rules and regulations and went in, and they limit it to 35 media members now, and they have everyone spread out, not just in the press box, but in the Salesforce booth to the right, the private suite, and then down below in that first walkway, kind of right in front of the stands, they have a bunch of card tables set up as well. So I think that's what it's going to look like during the regular season. All those things are going to be full. But when I went on a random Thursday last week, I think there was about 8 media members total. So I wasn't within 30 feet of anyone. Hank Schulman was the closest to me, and he was about 30 feet away to the right. So, obviously no contact with the players. You can't go down for batting practice, no interviewing or anything like that. But it is really weird watching a game, even though it wasn't a real game as inter-squad, but still watching it in an empty park because, there was the home run by Pence, which was extremely loud. It sounded sweet. I got it on my iPhone, and I just replay that over and over because it just sounds incredible. But also being able to hear the players talk, hear a lot of their conversation, sneezes and coughs and like random curse words. And I don't know, it's a very different situation. And so I know they're going to be pumping in crowd music to a lot of these games. They did it at the Coliseum last night. The Giants plan on doing it. I don't know how that's going to go over. It didn't seem to. I didn't like it on live TV last night, but I don't know how it's going to go over for the players. I've kind of heard in my subjective, qualitative view, some players who liked it because it was a background noise that they're used to, and some players are like, it's so artificial. I hated it.
It's so here's the thing. Watch it without it and then watch it with it and then make a determination, I think, because like I said, wrestling never went away, but for a while they were kind of figuring out what to do, right? And so WrestleMania this year was actually like a 2-day thing that they filmed in an empty like arena. It wasn't really like a huge arena. It was just like a place with a ring in the middle and all that. And there's no noise at all, and it's super weird to like watch it with just not that kind of normal background. Just the hum of the crowd, and then of course occasional cheers and whatnot. And then another company called AEW, what they were doing was they started just having the other wrestlers just in the crowd, just yelling things, and kind of they clearly told them be vocal, and it felt a lot more normal, and it felt more watchable to me. So yes, it's artificial, but in a similar way, like we get used to things like a laugh track and a sitcom, it just makes it feel like there's an audience there. I think we'll just get used to the fact that they're just doing it kind of for our benefit, to make it feel more normal.
Do you think they're doing it for our benefit more, or the players' benefits too? Because the other day they had to stop a scrimmage. The Phillies cut, and the umpires stopped because they could hear the play-by-play coming from the booth. And it was too weird for them, to be hearing that during the game. I mean, these aren't the days of Vince Scully transistors all over Dodger Stadium. So, it must have felt weird. So I wonder if, there's a certain comfort level with the players. Because I tell you what, I hate it too, but I also just already don't notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll stop noticing after a while. The Astros aren't going to be able to bang on trash cans.
No, they're just going to pump that in as part of their background noise.
Sure, yeah. It's just
natural for them to hear it.
Bang before every pitch.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
He needs to troll them and have a bang sound in their arsenal. They're allowed 75, right? They're allowed 75 different buttons. Put one button as the trash can bang.
Well, the bang sound now is the baseball hitting them in the chest, because that's already started to happen. 3 guys got hit already today against the Royals.
I'm glad to see that because, obviously we had that big podcast with you, Willie, and Tyler and stuff, and we talked about how much the Astros are going to get nailed this year, and the COVID actually seems to have, I don't know if it will, but it seems to have, calmed down the storm around the Astros a little bit. So, but I know baseball players, like elephants, are not going to forget anyway, despite the pandemic.
This is how baseball polices themselves, right?
Yeah.
So people are all like, take away the title. It's like, nah, just hit them.
Yeah, just hit them many times.
You'll teach them not to do that again.
Yeah, I feel like they're hoping that COVID is kind of softening the blow. Like the Astros are hoping that's the case. But I know that MLB put out all these things that you can't hit guys on, it can't be intentional. You'll be ejected right away. But I wonder how many players and teams they just won't care.
Yeah,
it's just worth it for them to get a shot in.
Yeah. And it's a way around the 3-batter rule.
So.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. Just hit the guy, and then you get to change your pitch.
Yeah, get the first guy out, hit the second guy. Yeah.
That's a great strategy.
That's pretty good. Yeah, and they got 60-player pools to pull from now, so I think they're all good. So the rosters, of course, haven't been announced yet. The Giants had not quite 60 in camp, but we know that both Brandon Belt and Longoria are going to start the year on the IL, and of course, Buster Posey has opted out. We'll get to him in a second. So we're going to have some young infielders getting a chance here, and I think we could all agree that locks are Brandon Crawford, Dubon, who's also going to be doing the outfield as well, Wilmer Flores, and probably Panda, especially with the injuries. But the other guys kind of on the fringe. Some of these will definitely be on the team this week because of the injuries, but Darren Ruff, who's been striking out a ton, unfortunately. Austin Slater had a hell of a game last night. Zach Green, Yolmer Sanchez, and Donovan Solano. I know these guys aren't household names, all of them, but I mean, is there anyone that sticks out to you as someone that the Giants should consider based on power, speed, versatility, anything like that?
Well, with a 60-game season, you put the hot hand in right now. So
yeah,
Slater makes the roster because whether or not he makes the entire season, he's hot now, and it's only 60 games. So, hell, ride him out as long as you can, and then if he slumps, make a move.
No,
you do that with everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a short. You could have a season-long hitting streak. I mean, it'd be the record, but you know what I mean. Like,
but just barely.
Hitting streak in the past.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, I think with Kapler, he's already kind of. I mean, I feel like the short season works out really well for the Giants. Already being kind of like a team in transition, he was going to be big on platoons and the infield and the outfield. I feel like a 60-game season works out so well to their advantage. He can put Slater in there versus lefties, and he can put Dickerson in there versus right. Like, he has a lot more options in a short season. I think, you know, they're kind of that team that's like not supposed to be very good, but if they get hot at the right moment, they could kind of sneak right in there.
Yeah,
well, what did they?
Good for very long.
No doubt.
So.
Yeah, they were like 17-9 or something in July last year, some great record or something. And I mean, we all knew it was fake, false hope, but you know, it was fun and entertaining. But all you got to do is put together a month and a half like that, and you could sneak into the playoffs this season, especially with the unbalanced schedule. I mean, like Cleveland plays 43% of its games against the Royals, Tigers, and Pirates. Like, lucky them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Giants have like one of the hardest schedules. So cool.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, cool.
Interleague is like the Angels.
The Astros.
Everybody
A's.
but, yeah.
Yeah, the A's, the Astros, the Angels, and the Rangers. But
Yeah.
6 against the A's, so yay. So yeah, I just mentioned Buster Posey a minute ago, and obviously he has opted out for the 2020 season like some other prominent players have, but his was definitely a very special circumstance. Now I didn't know this until I listened to a KMBR interview with Brandon Crawford. He was on Murph and Mac show a couple of weeks ago, and they were asking him about, you know, how much did you know about what was going on about his adoption of these twin girls, and essentially, and I've known a lot of people who have tried to adopt kids. And you go on this list, right? And so there are candidates that pop up and they look like that they're going to be successful or they're going to come to that person. And at the last second, the parents, the biological mom or whatever, will change their mind and say, nope, I don't want to give him up for adoption. Apparently that happened to Buster and his wife several times throughout the last year or so. So that this isn't like a thing they've been doing just for a couple of months. This is something they've been on a list for a long time. And so Brandon has been personally involved or heard of many times. The kid was born. It looked like they were coming to the Posies, and then the mom said, no, I don't want to give him up. So this is why this happened so quickly, because you just don't know when it's going to happen. And so he opened up summer camp knowing this was a possibility, but then the 2 girls were born prematurely and it was all okayed and they were confirmed to get these girls. That's why he had that leave of absence for a little bit, and Gabe Kapler wouldn't reveal why. And everyone's like, oh, does he have COVID? What's going on with Buster Posey? But that's what was going on. And so after much, you know, deliberation and reflection, as you guys may have heard in his interview, you know, he said, look, you know, I really had to take this to heart, but I talked to doctors about the chances of bringing this virus home to these girls, and like, they're already premature and may have health problems, so is that going to be an issue? And they're like, you know, we don't know for sure, but it could be. And so him and Kristen just said, all right, then we're out. And, you know, I got to say, that's a pretty respectable reason to opt out of Major League Baseball, because even though he was scheduled to earn $20 million this year, prorated $7 million, he's given up that $7 million. He does not get paid. So I think it's a pretty admirable thing for him to do. I mean, I don't hurt the Giants, but you know, it's a 60-game season, so it's not sacrificing too much.
You know what? I don't know if it necessarily does hurt the Giants. I think this isn't a year we're technically going to win it all. Yep. Posey having a year off of baseball could mean a fresh Posey. Suddenly he's gonna score instead of getting thrown out at the plate next year. So.
Yeah, 2021 Buster, watch out.
Yeah, 2021 Buster is going to be a speed demon, dude. Watch.
That checks out.
50 stolen bases. Here we come.
Well, and I don't know if this is like a confirmed thing, but my brother-in-law works for the Giants in IT, and he was saying the numbers kind of work out where the money that they will get to save on paying Posey for the year can go a long way in helping people that have been furloughed, people that have had to take time, you know, like people that aren't getting paid in the front offices or the ticket offices and everything. So it's definitely a good reason for him to not play. But I also thought like that's just so cool to me how it kind of works out that, you know, all teams are taking a hit and jobs are being lost, and this is a chance to salvage a bunch of them.
That's true. I never looked at it like that.
I'd never thought about it either.
We don't deserve.
Yeah, man.
It really
is.
It's
a pretty good point. So
well, I mean, Buster's reasoning is just the best ever. I'm adopted, so like, and I've been through a lot of adoption processes, and I also have grandkids that were born in the NICU, and I can't imagine like worrying about bringing a disease into the NICU, because if he's out there in the bubble, he then might not get to visit his kids in the NICU. And I mean, I can't imagine something like that. And you're right, though. A fresh Buster Posey is not going to hurt. I mean, maybe he will find a way to take that piano off his back during the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear when you look at his numbers that squatting for, 3 hours a day hasn't been very good for his longevity. So, take a year off of that, come back with fresh legs and some fresh babies, and let's do it in 2021.
Some fresh babies.
Fresh legs and fresh babies.
Oh man, yeah, it'll be great. I mean, to see what happens, because 21 is his last season of his contract, so it's a huge year. It's a massive year, especially considering what the Giants may or may not do with him. Considering it's Farhan Zaidi, who, is a little bit more like a Bill Walsh, who kind of, isn't going to re-sign guys that are legacy champions or legends of your team. So, I mean, I think it may be on paper unlikely the Giants sign him for 2022, but if he has a great year and he's in the mix, then I think the Giants do pursue it because of the marketing possibilities and everything else. So
if the DH sticks around too, I can see Buster Posey being a good candidate for that going forward, because Bart should be ready by then, right? And he seems to be the future. So,
well, good segue.
He should be ready by now. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, into talking about Buster and Bart, because here's the problem, right? They have 3 catchers in camp, right? Tyler Heineman, Chadwick Trump, and Rob Brantley. They have a combined 131 games of MLB experience between them. I mean, that's just they're dealing with 3 guys that just basically haven't been major league players. And so, they're going to have at least 2 on the roster. Joey Bart is in the mix as well. And, I don't have any quotes in front of me, but I'm sure you guys have heard. Not only his spring, but now his summer camp has really impressed management, really impressed the other players. I mean, Longo and others have talked about him with glowing praise that this guy is ready. He is ready for the major leagues. He looks like a major league player. But Farhan and management, even though they're playing their cards close to their chest, basically have said he's not going to be on the opening day roster unless something crazy happens. They're not ruling out him being called up for some point in the year. And a lot of people obviously point to, oh, you're just worried about service time because it starts the clock and blah, blah, blah. The other consideration is the fact that we don't know if the season's even going to complete, right? So even though it's already a shortened season, which would count as a full year of MLB service, and start the clock on Joey Bart, which could cost the Giants money down the road, what if they played 20 or 30 games before the season is canceled? Those players are still going to get that year of MLB service. So I think the management side, they're trying to be a little coy about it. But I really do think they're like, yeah, he needs some more seasoning down in, whatever. It's like, well, there is no AAA. There is no AA. Like, what are you going to do?
Major league pitchers, man. Like,
exactly. So, I mean, Farhan, in yesterday's interview, he actually said he needs higher level pitching exposure. And even though he's getting it in summer camp for 2 weeks and he's destroying the ball and everybody loves him, he still said, we're still worried that if he goes up into the majors, he's going to suffer a setback because of the way pitchers are going to pitch him. And, look, I've been trusting Farhan so far, and I'm not saying that he's lying, but I do think he's kind of straddling the fence here. And for me personally, I figure it's such a crazy, wacky season, and they have no Buster Posey. They don't have any of the backup catchers they've had in the past with good service records and experience. They have 3 inexperienced catchers. Why not? Why not do it? I guess I'm a little confused, aside from the service time, but I'd throw him in there.
He should be thrown in there. We talked about this on last show, how, hey, what the hell? Maybe he'll get hot, hit his first homer at Dodger Stadium and take off. But I think it's completely service time, because if you need a crazy instance to get Bart on the roster, and if a pandemic-shortened season with your starting all-star catcher taking the year off isn't crazy enough, then I just don't know what's going to be.
I mean, yeah, to me, I just think holding people back or whatever for seasoning is that's just dumb. I mean, Willie Mays started his career 0 for 12. right? He came up and he struggled, and then he hit a home run in his 13th at bat. So let the guy see some major league pitching. If he's got it, he'll have it. You know what I mean? And if he's the future, then we should have all of our investment should be in getting him the experience he needs to be that future. So
yeah,
I personally say put him in.
I agree with all of you guys. I cannot wait to see him. I feel like he's proven him. I mean, how much more can he prove himself that he's ready? You know, I wonder if it's similar to Posey in 2010, where they it felt like he was ready at the beginning of the season and they held him back until May for some unknown reason. They really needed 2 more months of Benji Molina. I don't know. But like you were saying, Chad, they don't even have that veteran presence behind the plate. So
yeah, exactly.
Not
we
really
don't
sure.
have a Benji Molina, so
yeah, not really sure what the logic is behind here. I'm very ready to see Joey Bart.
Yeah. So Zaidi also pointed out that Mike Trout and Cody Bellinger, and he listed off 3 or 4 guys that had at least 500 plate appearances in the minor leagues before they came up, and Joey Bart's had less than 100. In the minor leagues. So his argument was like he basically has not seen any professional pitching, and so he needs to see more advanced pitching. But again, to the point that he's seeing at least 4A pitching in summer camp and spring training, some spring training. He's destroying the ball. His defense has been great. He's been nailing players at second base. You know, I mean, these are major league close, and some of them are major league players. I mean, he's definitely close, if not that. I mean, yeah, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't struggle for a little bit, especially the first month of the season. Maybe he's hitting $150 after a month. But is that really going to destroy his confidence and send him into a spiral? Doesn't seem like it.
It shouldn't. He's been playing baseball long enough as a human that he understands like slumps and things, right? So I don't know. I think with baseball it's a funny game because every other sport you come out of college and you just go right into the rotation, right?
That's right.
And baseball, it's like just so much tougher that you actually have to develop a lot more. But there's certain guys who I think bypass that because of their talent level. And I think, if like bringing up Benji Molina, if we had something like that, sure, but we don't. So it's just play the guy, put our best team out there, the best 9 guys we can. Well, 10 guys now. Let's go.
10 guys.
Put our best starting 10 out there.
I feel like we've transitioned to the dark side. It sucks. Oh, well. So the outfield looks like the locks are going to be Pence, Yaz, DeBon, and Dickerson. And there's going to be some platooning. Of course, Austin Slater, we mentioned, he's very versatile, and I do agree with Willie. I think they're going to play him the hot hand. Gabe's going to put him on the roster, so he's going to be out there as a potential 5th outfielder and a 5th, 6th infielder. But then we have Steven Duggar and Jalen Davis, and Jalen Davis has definitely shown some signs of pop and some speed. And Steven Duggar, I mean, he was supposed to be our next center fielder, and for the last 3 years, and it just has not happened with various slumps and, of course, his shoulder injuries. But, I mean, do you think this is a year where one of these guys might stick out, or do you think it's, especially with Dickerson, who has that history of injuries? I mean, I fully expect Dickerson to be on the IL within the first 2 weeks of the season. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely see Slater on the team, maybe Duggar. Davis, again, provides that pop, but I don't know if he's going to be on this team.
Yeah, Duggar hasn't really been lighting it up at the plate, right? So I think he's probably the odd man out, but
well, he hit a triple.
Yeah, our outfield is not our strength. Let's
no,
put it that way.
Well,
and that's
I mean,
okay.
They're gonna do. We're seeing a whole new world. They're gonna do exactly what Chad said with platooning and play the hot hand. They're gonna play lefties against righties, righties against lefties, and they should with a 30, then 28, then 26-man roster. It'll give them the chance to see who is the hotter hand, because Slater could cool off, and so 3 weeks from now he could be demoted to the taxi squad, and that's going to be weird too. Some guys are going to have to be replaced at times, and without having a minor leagues, these guys have to get reps in by playing pretend games over in Sacramento. They're not even getting the opportunity. Like Bart's not going to get those minor league at bats that Farhan's hoping for.
Sure.
So they're gonna have to rotate these guys, and hopefully Duggar can show something. Because I mean, I feel like, am I the only one that feels like Duggar is just another long line of, oh my God, he's gonna be the next great outfielder, and then nothing.
No, that's been their MO.
I mean, he's 25, 26 now. I mean, he's not. He's supposed. This is when you're supposed to be like hitting your stride, right? So.
It's Gary Brown again. I mean, there's more of them. Fred Lewis.
Okay, so can you guys name the starting left fielder for the Giants last year's opening day?
Connor Joe.
Very good, Jed.
Hey.
So what that means?
What's the other guy? It was Connor Joe.
It was Connor Joe. So what's amazing about this is that the Giants will keep their streak alive of having a 14-year streak by naming a different left fielder for opening day. 14 different opening left fielders since Barry Bonds left the team. It's incredible.
What a tradition.
I mean, I don't know if the Giants are trying to do this, but it seems like it at this point.
I feel like, I hope they are at this point. I hope it's a running joke.
It's kind of a joke.
Right?
I know.
Well, who are they facing? Kershaw opening day. So Slater's a possibility there. I mean,
doesn't matter. It's a new left fielder no matter what.
Right. Well, Pence. That doesn't count because it's not back-to-back years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did he ever start in
left field one year?
I think he did in 2017.
Really?
I don't know about opening day though.
Yeah, his last year. I'm gonna look it up.
He might have played left field in a game, but definitely I don't know about opening day.
I don't know if he's ever started a season in left field. I will say this about our outfield though. I think defensively we're going to be pretty strong. We got a lot of young, fresh legs out there who are going to track down a lot of balls. And then you got Hunter Pence who just will weirdly fall into catches. But
I missed watching him on the Giants. That'll be a joy this season to see.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited because when he was on the Rangers, it was kind of cool because he was back in Texas and I was in Texas, and I was like, "Hey, look at this!" And I was like, all the Texas people are so happy that he's back in Texas because they loved him on the Astros.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just still my all-time favorite Giant. He's surpassed Will Clark in my mind, and not based on, plate appearances and statistics, but just based on like his personality and what he did for this team.
No, he's a great guy. He's a great interview. Definitely has not surpassed Will Clark for me, but because he's my favorite player. But that said, I did chop up that home run he hit to the tune of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" a few nights ago, and I posted that on social media and tagged Hunter and his wife Alexis. And so Alexis responded and loved it. So that was kind of cool that she engaged with that. Because I was bored one night.
I guess the thing for me too is they're also like part of the nerd culture that permeates my life. So yeah, like I'll never forget. And you were there, Chad, right? When you and Veronica went to the game and we're talking to him about Hearthstone decks, and he goes up, crushes like a bunch of home runs and BP, and then comes walking back over to us to keep talking about Hearthstone. I was like, this is my guy.
Yeah, that was so cool.
This is my guy.
He was so engaged.
2018, he was the starting left fielder.
Oh, very good, Eric.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He's done it all.
Well, now I hope it's Slater against just so we can have a new one.
I totally agree. I mean, Doobie's been doing a great job in the outfield, but he'll play center more. I'm pretty sure Doobie will get the start in center opening night, which is pretty cool. It's Doobie is another one of these kids that's coming along that is falling right in line as being a Giants fan favorite. And it's nice to have, like, between Doobie and Dick, there's some great fun to be had with the outfielders of the Giants right now.
That's a great band name, by the way.
Doobie and Dick.
I know.
Doobie and the Dick.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the Giants have struggled in the outfield for a very long time now. I feel like they have the potential there, though, to have some exciting players. I mean, Yaz last year was so fun to watch and such a fun surprise. I feel like if he can have a similar season, I think Davis has struggled a lot, but he had 35 home runs in the minors last year. Like, if he can get comfortable hitting major league pitching, like, there's your power hitter. I think Slater and Dickerson are fun. I think, like you said, Dubon is, the outfield coach said he's like the most improved outfielder he's ever worked with. They have a lot of potential. They might they might not be the terrible outfield that we've come to know and love, but maybe they still will. I feel like we say this every year, and it's like, oh, look at all these young guys. They're so great. And then it's like, oh, maybe not.
You think about the history of Giants outfielders. We have heroes like Cody Ross. Like, nobody, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was like, oh, yeah, dude, but we just signed Cody Ross. That's going to turn this around. But, you know, like, people come out of nowhere and surprise you. So,
yeah, there's no doubt about that. So let's talk about starters. So Johnny Cueto has been tabbed as opening day starter, of course, down in L.A. And I think we can all agree that Jeff Samardzija, Gossman, and Smiley are going to be the top 4 starters of this rotation. Now, we do have to talk about the possibility that he's going to use openers. Tonight, he's going to be using Tyler Rogers as an opener against the A's in San Francisco. And, of course, yesterday he threw everybody 1 inning, the first, 7 innings. So it wasn't really a typical, game. It was more of a spring training game, of course. But we got other guys like Logan Webb, Tyler Anderson, Derek Rodriguez, Andrew Suarez, and Connor Menez. And so I just, I've seen flashes of brilliance from everyone. Logan Webb's got some amazing stuff, but he's young and, he was susceptible last year. Tyler Anderson has looked really, really good, recovering from Tommy John this year with that little hitch he has from his left-handed delivery. Derek Rodriguez had flashes of brilliance his first year up, but then really melted down, to be honest. And similarly with Andrew Suarez, I think Connor Menez is more on the back end of that possibility of being a starter. I think he could be a long reliever with some injured players, but I don't know if you guys have any more insight on those guys who might be the 5th starter. But I think it's going to be a non-traditional pitching staff this year. That's what I think is the main point here.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a 5th starter. I wonder if they just, Kapler's kind of trying to figure out what he's got. And all these guys, like you mentioned, there's guys like Suarez and Rodriguez who looked great and then looked terrible. You're just unsure of what you're going to get with them. And I feel like, we said earlier, the 60-game season is kind of the time that you have openers, I guess, to see. I think Tyler Rogers could be really interesting. He's looked really good at times. I don't know if they even name a 5th starter.
You could do a 4-man rotation and just be bullpen heavy when you don't have to worry about double switching anymore. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? You could just take them out after 6 and then bullpen game from there and just go every, 4-man rotation. You could just do that.
Well, especially the first 2 weeks of the season, right? Because every team's going to have 30 players, so they're going to be pitcher heavy anyway. So I think the first 2 weeks of the season, Kapler's definitely going to be, riding his openers or starting with, occasionally an opener with a Tyler Rogers or whatever. But I do think it's going to be a non-traditional kind of setup for the Giants because it is a 60-game season. And they're going to be pitching heavy. But remember, after 2 weeks, it drops to 28, and after another 2 weeks, it drops to 26. So whatever strategy he adopts in the first 2 weeks, 4 weeks, probably will change by the time we're a month into the season because he won't have the same depth of pitchers to do the stuff that he does in the beginning. Sure. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does because there's going to be a lot of traditional managers that just have their starter, then they have more relievers in the middle, and their closer at the end. But you're right. I think that Kapler is going to start with some openers. He's definitely going to go with some starters after that go maybe only 3 and not even qualify for a win. and then just go bullpen, just like he did last night, which again, exhibition, it's not a sign of what he's going to do, but it might be similar to that.
But don't you kind of want your manager to do that in a season like this where every game is worth 2.7 games?
Yeah.
So you think about it. That is the formula. Every 4-game winning streak is really like a 7-game winning streak. Every time you sweep somebody, it's like an 8-game winning streak. And so you kind of want your manager, if a pitcher doesn't have it, to just yank them and use the next guy up mentality for a season like this. And the Giants I think they're the perfect team for this petri dish of a season. They have new manager, Farhan with his ideas. They have a ton of players that they can utilize in different aspects, and I think they're going to benefit. Them and a few other teams are going to benefit from getting the chance to be able to work through all these glitches, in the first year of a new manager.
Yeah, they probably should just try to do everything non-traditionally and just
Right.
It's like a good time to just be experimental, right?
For sure.
Different rules, different manager, different.
Well, I mean, if Plato
so different.
Boo you when you suck.
Oh, by the way, would you like to be the stadium guy who has to operate the soundboard? Like, the home team hits a home run and you hit the cheer button, right?
So but like, home run, I'll be like, burr, 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 burr.
I mean, it's crazy. It's like, do you have a boo button? Do you have a burr, 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 burr? Do you have what do you? I would love that position, but man, it will happen this year, and it will be on video and audio where some guy hits the wrong button at the wrong time, and it's going to be great.
Hell yeah!
This season is going to be so weird. I'm so excited for it.
When somebody strikes out, you're just like, fail.
Finish him.
That would be amazing.
I think they should just go for it,
Oh,
the Giants have proved themselves as an organization to be willing to try things, so we should be the team that does it. I mean, hell, they're letting podcasters into their media.
Yeah, no, right? All right, so then we get down to the relievers, and Tony Watson looks like the lead for closing games, at least for now. Trevor Gott, Tyler Rogers, who may start some games, may close some games, Wandy Peralta. But again, with the expanded pitching roster, the first 4 weeks, we have Coonrod, Danny Jimenez, Carlos Navas, who looked really good last night, by the way. Sean Anderson with all the hair, Rico Garcia, Andrew Triggs, Trevor Oakes, Caleb, and of course, Eric and I always like to say Baragar. It reminds me of Baraka from Mortal Kombat, but they were saying it last night. They were just like, Baragar is out to pitch. So it was a very soft Baragar. I was a little.
Excuse me, you're not saying it right.
I was a little disappointed in that. I wanted to hear, and now Baragar is up to pitch. But by the way, he was all over the place. He throws hard, but he's a lefty, and it was. They said it was his first time pitching against another team at the major league level. So he'd only done inter squad before because he was signed late. So that would be interesting. And of course, Trevor Cahill will start on the IL. So tonight he's apparently starting Tyler Rogers as an opener against the A's, and he may do that in the beginning part of the season. Look, we're in an epoch here of Giants baseball where it's a bunch of random names. I'll be very honest. I mean, these guys, I'm not saying none of them are good, but none of them have established track records. So it's really finding that diamond in the rough right now. And as a manager, it's got to be really, really tough because the sample sizes are so small with these guys who are so young. And if you're, Gabe Kapler, how do you evaluate these guys other than their, bullpen side sessions?
You pray. I mean,
throw them out there and hope. Yeah.
I mean, we don't have the Giants. It's not a bullpen of okay, this is the 6th inning guy, this is the 7th inning guy, this is the. Yeah. It's just not going to be that way anymore. It's like with every position group we talk about, it just becomes more apparent how different the organization is now than it has been for the last 13 years under Bochy and 20-something years under Sabian, pretty much. And it just because we're going to see all these guys rotate through at some point. Like you would see. I felt like last year Bochy settled into a moment where Coonrod was like always his 8th inning or 7th inning guy, and I don't think Gabe Kapler is going to fall into that trap. I think if Coonrod doesn't have it, all right, see you later. We'll try Navas now. And Sean Anderson, he could be a hybrid. Go long, he could just let it all out at one time through. So they have some intriguing possibilities, but this is not the days of old where we knew every reliever and absolutely everybody who is making this roster right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think you just mix and match. You go basically just based on matchups.
I mean, you can carry 13 pitchers, so you might as well use them.
Yeah, and like you saw last night, we just every guy got 1 inning. We're still very clearly evaluating everybody right now. So
yeah, there were literally 9 pitchers last night. So I mean, and 7 of them had shutout innings. The other 2 each gave up 1 run. So great job for the Giants because they faced a tough lineup. It was a very good lineup. So. Yeah. No,
it's very it's very Farhan. I feel like it's Like as a GM in his off seasons and trade deadlines, it's like, hey, let's get a bunch of like young guys with potential, and you just go through them and see what you've got at the end of the day. And we just don't get to do that in spring training this year. We just get to do it in real time.
Yeah, to do it against the Dodgers.
Yep. And Kershaw, let's go.
No, he has a track record of reviving these careers of either older guys in the right situations or younger guys that people didn't, give him a chance or didn't have that chance prior. He's very good at evaluating that. But yeah, like you said, 7 of the first 12 games at Dodger Stadium, and I know that's not the same home field advantage that you would have with fans, but just batting last and those kinds of things, you still do have those little bits of that home field advantage. So it's going to be interesting to see. So last night, of course, the Giants won 6-2 on the back of Austin Slater's 5 ribbies off of 2 doubles against the A's. But one thing that I was listening to KBR this morning, and it was something that really struck me, is that none of the, radio announcers and media people were really thinking about this. This is the first game that the Giants and A's and many other major league teams were playing since the pandemic and since the George Floyd incident and the resurgence of Black Lives Matter, to where no one really thought, what are these players going to do for the national anthem? And as it turns out, Gabe Kapler had a meeting with his team prior to the game and said, look, guys, this is important to me, because his parents were very into social justice, and he was a part of that. That's how he's been brought up, to care about these issues. And he said, I'm going to kneel. You do whatever you want. I will support you either way, but I just wanted to let you know ahead of time so you could prepare and make a decision. And so, they went out there for the national anthem. Exhibition game, no one's in the stands. It's being televised. Probably not too many people are watching online. And he knelt along with 4 other players and coaches. And it was really, really interesting, because I didn't see it live. I caught up late with it. But look, I know this is a podcast and we have a variety of people who listen to this, and I don't want to get super social on it, but at the same way, I don't mind sharing my opinion about it, and everyone may disagree with it, and that's fine. It's okay. But I was very happy to see it, to be honest. I was kind of proud of my team, being a Giants fan for my entire life, to take this stand that I didn't expect coming, maybe later in the year, but just not during an exhibition game in Oakland. And it really did catch the attention of the national media. And to me, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but to certain people, it really is a big deal, including the President of the United States, who didn't, tweet out the Giants by name, but said basically, once I see players kneel, I turn the game off. But I will say I'm a little bit saddened by a lot of the Giants groups I'm a part of on Facebook and seen on Twitter, of the volatility of responses to this, about the disrespect to the American flag and all that. And look, again, I don't want to get super, super political about this, and you guys can share whatever you want at this time, but I'm just going to say that they're just trying to bring up the fact that, there is definitely still racial inequality in this country and injustice in this country. And by no means, especially with Gabe Kapler's post-game comments, and the other players, were they trying to disrespect the flag, just like Colin Kaepernick back in the day. They were just trying to highlight and use their platform to bring this back to attention, especially after the events of George Floyd. So to me, even though people say politics don't belong in sports, I do really like MLB, their official Twitter account, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me, but they responded to some people basically defending the Giants and also saying racial inequality or injustice is not politics. That's it's not.
That's I think my big thing with it is that it's been turned into a political issue by people who don't like it, right? They basically twisted Colin Kaepernick's original message into something that was disrespecting the flag because they're trying to shut him up. They're trying to make it so that people don't get to do this. It's absolutely respecting the flag to protest nonviolently. It's 100% what America's all about. It's literally in the First Amendment that peaceful protest is completely constitutional. So it's it's just stupid for people to have turned it into some sort of a political issue at all. And you could say politics shouldn't be in sports, but politics are just part of people, and people play sports. So therefore, sorry, you don't get to decide. Like if I work as a salesman, am I not allowed to express my political opinion? So why, you know what I mean? It's like, why are baseball players not allowed to? And in fact, they have a platform because people are watching, so they're supposed to use it. So I'm all for it. And I wasn't a big fan of our new manager for a while, and I'm starting to come around on him. So.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. Like, I mean, I think they talk about like not having sports and politics, but if you're playing the national anthem at like their place of work, you're making it political. Like,
come on.
It's too late. It's already there. I was gonna say that too about Kapler. I was not super excited when they signed Kapler, and I just really respect that. You know, it's not easy to take a stand in a pretty white, kind of old crotchety sport. I mean, baseball is my favorite sport, but it is very old school and it's pretty white. You know, but I have just been really impressed with how he's handled it. He's been super supportive. I know guys like Jalen Davis and Yastrzemski both put out statements today about why they took a knee, and, you know, Crawford not taking a knee, but having his, you know, hand on the shoulders of his teammates. I was very proud to be a fan of this team. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, it's San Francisco, and that's why, you know, it's like, well, yeah, that's who the city is. That's who the Bay Area, you know, that is, the team was, I feel like, representing the city very well. And they can call us a bunch of leftist hippies if they want, and that's fine. That's probably who we are in the city. So, yeah, I thought it was a really cool,
from
proud
San Francisco,
moment.
though, right? So it's like they're here now, and so this is like the Nick Bosa thing too. Like, you know, he had all these, you know, pro-Trump and basically like close to racist tweets and stuff before he joined the Giants or the 49ers, and then like I remember the interview where he said, you know, this will be a chance for me to like learn, be in an environment like that, and I think that's what happens when you come to San Francisco is suddenly you're exposed to things that you might not have been exposed to when you were in, you know, Arkansas, Alabama. You know what I mean? So
I can attest to that.
Changes them.
I used to live in the backwoods of Georgia. I can 100% attest to that. You know, I echo everybody's sentiments in being proud of the Giants. And I want to say Black Lives Matter. Because Black Lives Matter because, yes, all lives matter. That's obvious. But Black lives haven't mattered as much. And that's why you have to say that phrase. And you don't have to say it, but that is why I would choose to say that phrase. And that's why I choose to support Black Lives Matter. Kapler, I agree again. I said it last night, I'm really turning around on him, learning the history, where he grew up from and how his parents were, and seeing how he's reacted with the Giants and is talking about these kinds of things. Pavs just tweeted about 47 minutes ago, because they're talking to Kapler now, and they said they'll have the roster finalized in 24 hours. But Kapler pointed out that Trevor Gott and pitching coach Ethan Katz were also kneeling over in the bullpen. Tyler Sear and Chadwick Tromp were as well. And nobody noticed because they were over in the bullpen. So we didn't even know that. And Kapler made it a point today to point out, hey, did you guys see that? So it seems like he's very much in tune with the city that he's in. He's very much in tune with the organization he represents. And, you know, I'm coming around on him too. I don't want to say we vilified him on this show, but we have talked about his mishandling of situations in the past. And I think you can separate a man or woman or anybody from the way that they've handled something as long as you see that they've learned and they've grown. And Kapler's showing those kinds of things. He is showing, you know, because, I mean, there are apples and oranges, the two different situations, you know, racial injustice and dealing with sexual assault allegations. But it wasn't like, this sounds weird, but Kapler mishandled it. But it wasn't like he was the guy that went out and, like, did things wrong to women and then we had to forgive him. He was just the authority figure that didn't know how to handle the situation. And so now, the older I get, it, the more I can relate to that, being in a position of authority in a sense, and not knowing what to do. And I can understand why he might have mishandled the situation at that time. And you can only hope that he's learned from it. And having these kinds of things come out really does turn me around on him too, because it's just, it shows that he is willing to learn and adapt and change, just like everybody else is. And it's like, you know, you said you can't take the human part of baseball out of baseball, and that's where all the extra stuff's going to come from.
I just want to, I want to echo the Black Lives Matter thing, because you can't say all lives matter if you can't say Black Lives Matter. So,
yeah,
it's like literally
Amen.
a logical fallacy.
Right.
No, it is. It's hard, you know, and I know that some people are, you know, maybe just don't quite understand the whole reason why people say Black Lives Matter, because some people get triggered right away of saying, oh, you're saying just Black Lives Matter. And
They think that you're putting the word more at the end of it.
Exactly.
And you're not.
Of course, that's not like it. And I think an apt, you know, biblical, I'm not religious at all, but an apt biblical analogy would be the shepherd who has 100, you know, sheep, and one went missing, and the shepherd wants to go find that one sheep. So it's not that the other 99 don't matter. It's that the one could be in trouble, might be in trouble, is in trouble, and you need to go save
all
that
100
sheep.
of them matter.
But still all 100 matters. So that's really what this is about, because of the racial injustice. It's, you know, because obviously black people and other minorities, of course, have been oppressed for so long. It's not that all lives don't matter. It's that we need to help these people to bring them back to the flock, to be a part of a whole society and all be equal. So, you know, it's helping them out. So anyway, enough on that.
Disappearing people in Portland right now, and apparently they're now coming to Oakland.
Oakland and
yeah. So it's like, I mean,
Chicago.
This is the time to be standing up for this in every aspect of your life, not to be shying away from it.
So if anyone wants to email us that Pollux don't belong in a podcast, well, this is a podcast. We can do what we want with it. Sorry.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Anything we want to say, it belongs in this podcast. The last thing I want to say too is I 100% agree with you, Eric, that you know, people talk a lot about cancel culture and blah blah blah, and it's not really a thing the way people use it.
Yeah.
But people's feet do need to be held to the fire, but they also need to be allowed to grow as people and learn from those situations. So, you know, they need to be told when what they did wasn't okay, but to just disappear them from society because they made a mistake is also incorrect. So, yeah, I think, you know, he clearly wasn't like prepared to deal with the situation correctly that he was put in. And it seems that he has learned from that. So that I will give him credit for.
Yeah, I think, sorry to touch on that, like as a female baseball
totally.
fan,
I was going to try to bring it back to you here.
I just had I had a very negative response when they hired Kapler. I was not excited about it. I was just super let down by the Giants. And I think watching his opening press conference, he took a lot of hard questions, which I had no sympathy. You know, I was like, whatever, answer hard questions. You had a tough situation that you didn't handle well. I don't feel bad for you. Yep. And I just remember talking to, again, my brother-in-law who works for the Giants, and he said Kapler wasn't really his first choice either, but in all of their meetings, he just said there's something about him. I think he is a decent person. I think he just really mishandled the situation. So try to give him a chance. I was like, whatever. But I think, people can apologize. And Willie, like you were saying with Nick Bosa, they can apologize for things they've done in the past. And all you can do is, if the opportunity arises for them to handle something differently, then they better handle it differently. And I feel like so far he's really had a lot of stuff thrown at him. And I really like the way he's handled the Black Lives Matter stuff and people coming at Alyssa Knockett. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. I think he's been really a champion of the issues that are a little harder to talk about in baseball. So, I mean, you just, giving people a second chance means that they need to prove themselves during that second chance. And I think so far he has. No,
thanks for bringing up Alyssa Knockett, because, she obviously coached first base last night during the exhibition game. And she's, coached inter-squad games, but and was hired as one of the 13 coaches for the Giants. But she was the first woman to coach a base during even an exhibition game. And, after they announced her back in the spring, I even had friends or people that I was connected to on social media that were literally saying, I played high school baseball and I know more about baseball than her. And just the level of mansplaining was so obvious and apparent and embarrassing for people that I knew that I just said, I can't deal with that kind of sentiment anymore because, women are just as qualified as men if they know the sport. And she clearly knows the sport. She was an All-American at Sac State. And it's very frustrating to see that, guys who played high school baseball apparently think they know more than her. So I'm really glad to see her succeed. I'm really glad that the Giants, hired her on. And I don't believe as a token person. I don't. I do believe through all of the accounts and all the interviews that she truly knows what she's talking about. I've seen her interviews and everything like that. So I hope to see her at the major league level during the regular season. I don't know if that's going to happen, but at least what we've seen so far, she'll still be on the 13 coach staff as well. So really, really cool to see.
She looks like a ball player out there. She really does. She moves like a ball player. She talks to ball players like other ball players and coaches do. She looks like she belongs, and it doesn't at all look like you said, like a token type hire, because from everything you said, I saw Doobie was shared a picture today of him and her walking off the field together and how he was proud that she was there last night. Like, if the players buy into it, why the hell shouldn't we?
Well, okay, let me ask you one question. So Alyssa Nakin never played Major League Baseball. Okay, fine. Did Farhan Zaidi?
Exactly.
There are so and do you
Brian
know
Sabian.
one female?
Right.
Exactly. Do you know one female GM? No. Most of the GMs, a good portion of them, never played baseball in their entire lives. And yet people go, well, he's a nerd guy. He knows his numbers or whatever. Yeah, a girl gets hired, a woman gets hired to coach first base or be a coach for the Giants. Oh, she never played baseball. She doesn't know what she's talking about. It's like she's a much lower level than the GM. And the GM is the one who's making all these decisions to hire and pay players, and they never played the game themselves, but no one points that out. It's incredible to me. It's just,
the fact that it's at all something that you care about, the sex of your first base coach, is just bizarre to me. It's like
it's so crazy to me that these people just like point her out and then don't even look at Farhan and go, oh yeah, he never played baseball. It's like, no, you don't have to play baseball to understand the game. You don't have to. Anyway.
No.
But she happened to play high-level softball. So.
But yes, exactly. She played.
She never actually played.
It's pretty badass.
She played way more than Farhan ever did.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, so every year we get to our season predictions, and this is a very unusual year. So we'll see what happens here. We should be much closer to the norm. But there were a few years where I nailed it 3 years in a row, the exact win total. But that was way long ago, so I'm not going to bring that up until I just did right now.
You can brag. You can brag.
But last year, it was just Eric and I who had predictions. And so Eric predicted 75 wins for the Giants. I predicted 73. The Giants won 77. So Eric was a little bit closer. He was only 2 wins off. I was 4 wins off. So apparently I was more pessimistic about the Giants. So, and the reason he put 75. I looked back at the notes. He put 75 because he thought that Bochy would get 2,000 wins by 1 win. He thought he was going to get 2,001 wins. I took the pessimistic approach with 73 wins, going, he's going to get to 1999 and just fail, and he's not going to get there. So that was kind of my thinking, is that, luck, karma, whatever, was going to screw him with, being 1 win short. But he did, of course, end up with 2003 career wins. So that was great. So this year is a little bit different. We have 60 games. We've never seen this before. So I'm going to go on the record, and I'm going to go ahead and pick first. And I'm going to go through all 4 of you, or the other 3 of you. How many wins are the Giants going to get from a 60-game season? Now, of course, as you know, the Giants probably are not going to do extremely well, but we don't know that for sure. Most of the experts pick them around 24 wins. So I'm using that as a barometer. I think they're going to supersede that. I think they're going to overperform that level. So I'm going with 27. So why don't we start with Jen? What do you think, Jen?
I think I'm going to be more optimistic and say like 32.
Nice.
I think that they're like weird enough, and this is like I feel like it's just a season that's made for a team in transition and a manager that's willing to try a bunch of crazy matchups and not to have I mean we could have 60 different starting lineups over the course of the season. We don't know, but it's an even year. Like Eric was saying earlier, they tend to get hot for 1 month of the season, and if you do that now, like you can build a pretty good lead for yourself,
Right.
So I'll say, what did I say? 32.
32. I wrote it down.
Yes. Okay. 32 on record.
All right, Willie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I actually think they're going to surprise some people. We do have a tough schedule, of course, but I'm going to go 35.
Nice.
I'm going to say that we're actually going to be 35-25.
I like it.
10 games over 500. Wow.
That's like winning 90 games,
It kind of is, actually, if you think about it. Yeah.
I saw an article go by today. Right. I saw an article go by today why the Yankees are absolutely winning 40 games. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
I think over 162, though, we don't win 90, but I think over 60, we can win 35.
Yeah.
They're made for the sprint.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, if it's last July, we're good.
Yeah, I also think the wacky, wonky, weird world of 2020 makes for the possibility of a run, but I can't be too excited. It's still the Giants after all, and we don't know what the hell's going to happen. We talked about the 14th different starting left fielder. There's just no consistency, but there's no consistency for any other teams. So I'm going to be the safest person, and I'm going to say the Giants go 30-30.
30. Okay.
Here's the thing, though. If one team this year has like a 10-game win streak,
I know.
that's sixth of the season. They just won all those games, right?
I wonder what it'll look like if like a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees really struggle coming out of the gate.
Sure.
Like,
if
they panic, if they
Dodgers
trade, like, what do you do?
So I think it was, I don't have it in front of me, but, the Dodgers have won the NL West, 7 years in a row, right? But 4 of those 7 years
How many
after
World
6.
Series did they win, though?
Well, of course, we know that.
The best one.
But for 4 of those 7 years after 60 games, they were not in first place in the NL West.
Sure.
So they have a tradition of getting out of the gate slowly. And last year, the Washington Nationals, at this time after 60 games, were only above the Marlins and the Giants. They weren't even close to the playoffs, and yet they won the World Series. So, that's the thing about a 60-game season is that, the Giants have their July in August. That's kind of just 1 month off. Suddenly they're almost a lock for the playoffs. So this is going to happen. And that kind of leads me into, my next question is, with this shortened season, who do you think is the most likely team to make the playoffs that wouldn't have made it in a full season? I know it's very convoluted and it's kind of hard to predict, but I figure it's fun to talk about, right? Obviously the Giants can be a pick, but it could be an up-and-coming team like, let's say the Rays last year were in the playoffs for most of the hunt, and then they faded off. Or the Mariners started off extremely hot last year. They were in first place in the AL West for most of the first 2 months of the season, and then they faded off and didn't make the playoffs. So that's the kind of stuff that's probably going to happen this year. We're going to have 1 to 3 or maybe even more teams that make the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say the Giants are definitely on that list of teams that have a chance when they shouldn't. Probably the A's, too. The A's are actually pretty good, though, right? They're like just a solid team.
They're supposed to be pretty good.
They should be it anyway. Yeah.
But also, they're competing against the Astros, right? So if it's over 162 games, do they do it? in that division.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about
games.
winning a wild, any playoff spot,
sure.
right? So wild card.
But
included.
yeah, just getting to the playoffs, right? Like,
yeah.
Because Angels and Astros are in their division, and they're all good, so that would be a tough division to get out of, right? Normally.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, Chad, I keep coming back to like Tampa Bay. I feel like they have a pretty good starting rotation, and in a short season, like you don't need a guy to be really good and win 22 games. If he wins like 7, like there's your Cy Young contender. Like your team's probably got a pretty good chance of getting into the playoffs.
7 wins.
Your
Oh my
starters are going to
god.
start 10 games, So
Yep.
7's a big number. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I don't know, or it seemed like the Mariners could be really fun. I always kind of forget about them, but I like the Mariners up there and the Giants. I think it's just going to be a madhouse. I'm here for it.
I think the White
what
Sox.
about the Cubs? Are the Cubs
That's so
potentially?
Eric, yeah, tell
I
us
know
what
Eric
the
would
Cubs.
know.
Well, I just said White Sox, and right as you said Cubs. No, I don't trust the Cubs, man. I don't trust the Cubs. It was so fun watching them yesterday. It was like watching them the last 2 years. They fell apart once the bullpen came in. But they have a new manager, so that's why I think the White Sox actually are somebody who has a shot to do something, because I use the Cleveland as an example of playing a bunch of games against the Royals and the Tigers. Well, so do the White Sox. And when you cross over, they'll play, the NL Central. I think that's where the team that makes the run's going to come from, somewhere that plays a weaker division on the other side, because, it's weird that the Giants and Braves are not going to play this year. Yeah. And that there's no common opponent. So I think the White Sox are actually a team that could go on a surprise, and maybe the Padres, because every year I pick the Padres to finally surprise us, and they never do.
Maybe this is their year.
Maybe this is the year.
The West is the D-backs, dude. Madison Bumgarner is going to go 12-0 with a 1.8 ERA. He's going to bean everybody, and he's going to take that team to the playoffs.
Please,
that would be sad.
He's going to have 5 stare downs with umpires. It's going to be his year, man.
I don't like it. Yeah, so I'm going definitely Tampa Bay.
I don't like it.
Brewers, Cubs, and Angels are kind of my 4 teams. I didn't say how many teams, but Jen, I got Giants in Seattle. Eric, I got White Sox and Padres, and Willie, I got Giants and Diamondbacks. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so
I mean, they have pretty good starters too, the Diamondbacks, right? I haven't actually kept up with their starting lineup, but their pitchers are good.
Yeah, I think so.
So let's flip that question.
Sure.
Which team would probably make the playoffs in a 162-game schedule, but will not make the playoffs in this 60-game season? And the reason I bring this up is, of course, I just mentioned the Dodgers, who quite often have actually not been in first place after 60 games, but it's been very true for many other teams because, the cream rises to the top in a long season, but a 60-game season, it's a sprint, so any of these things may happen. What do you think?
The Dodgers.
I was going to say the Dodgers too, for
The
sure.
ultimate pick, right?
This is our hopeful thinking, but
That's hopeful thinking,
Maybe,
exactly.
maybe I would say if the Astros had to play 162 games in front of people and getting mercilessly booed every single time. But yeah, I think the problem is that team's just too good, so they're going to do it anyway.
They realize there's too much talent to just fight through any kind of slumps.
Yeah, without and how many free bases are they going to get this season? Oh my God,
That's
probably
true.
a lot.
That's very true.
But yeah,
I feel like
probably
that-
the Dodgers would be the pick there. But I guess another team I kind of want not to do it is the Yankees.
That would be the
But-
dream. Dodgers and Yankees miss the playoffs.
Yeah, just don't get in. Yeah, but the Yankees also have Garrett Cole for even 12 games. But that, I mean, that was such a solid addition. So
Gosh, I
that's a
forgot
tough
about
one
that.
for them to not make it.
The baseball offseason was so long ago.
It's weird, right? I
forgot what happened.
I forget who moved to other teams. It was funny the other day when I saw a picture of Bumgarner in the Diamondbacks jersey, and I was like, oh God, that did happen.
Did you know
actually
Matt?
gone.
Did you know Matt Duffy is a Yankee? I happened to turn out the other day and find out Matt Duffy was a Yankee. I had no idea.
Also
So
weird.
this Giants team, it's funny because living in Austin, it's harder for me to kind of keep up because, you know, when you live in San Francisco, it's just kind of part of your daily routine is like, you know, the Chronicle shows up at your house and you open the sports section and people are talking about the Giants. People are, you know, you see billboards, you see commercials, you see, you know, whatever. I live in Austin, so it's like I have to actively seek it out.
Yeah.
And like I remember when I first looked at this roster, it was like the beginning of the movie Major Leagues, where I'm like, who the hell are these guys? It's like I know like 4 names on this roster. What the hell is going on here? But I'm excited to like actually now get a chance to watch. Also, this was a weird season for me because it kind of felt like it just wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean? Like it just, in a lot of ways, I just kind of assumed, oh no, sports just aren't a thing right now. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's here.
All right, well,
tomorrow or whatever. Like,
quick question around the horn: does everybody here think they get through this entire baseball season?
Yeah.
Yeah,
question.
I think so. I think there's going to be some stuff's going to happen. Players are going to test positive and then have to quarantine. That's going to happen. But baseball is the sport that you can do, I think, you know, because when you touch somebody, oftentimes it's a glove touching them. And, you know, there's basketball, they're bumping up into each other. Football, they're dogpiling on each other. And, you know, baseball, yes, there is contact, but it's much more limited. So,
Jen, do you think they'll play all the way through?
I do. I think it's short enough. And I think, like Willie was saying, it's the sport most conducive to not spreading. I think even Manfred said, like, we're playing, like, we're finishing the season. He didn't say I don't care if people get COVID, but it was basically like, well, if people get COVID, they'll be quarantined and we'll deal with it. Like, I think he is of the mindset that it's like, this is happening. So I think it would take something crazy. And I mean, it's trending really positively. I mean, knock on wood right now. Like, but the tests are, you know, the Giants' little bubble hasn't had a positive test since they've all been together, and it seems whatever they're doing seems to be working. So I think
it's spiking because people are idiots. If the Giants and Major League teams are not idiots, they won't get the same thing, right?
This is true. It's
spiking because people are out there not wearing masks and peeing on the floor of Walmart because they ask you to put one on. There's just too many stupid people, but I feel like the people in charge are smart enough here that, I mean, baseball is the socially distant sport, right? Everybody's way more than 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah, you're really only next to
90 feet
guys.
from each other.
Yeah, you're really only next to guys like when you're on first base and he's holding you
The catcher,
on.
the umpire, and the batter are the three people.
Last night was a good, call because it was the first game that I saw with 2 different teams, not inter-squad, right? So you're bringing 2 sets of potential viruses together. But, the umpires wore masks. Most of the players wore masks in the dugout, but not all of them, especially the active players. They would come back in the dugout without masks and they would leave them off. But most of the non-playing players would still have their masks on. But Pablo and others would still wear their masks most of the time, maybe under their nose, which is another issue we don't have to discuss right now. It's like wearing your pants with, whatever hanging out. But it was
you don't have
interesting.
One ball hanging out of your pants at all?
But he would actually pull up his mask because he was playing first base last night. He would actually pull it up over his nose when a player would come to first base for the A's, and then he would pull it back down under his nose when there wasn't. Crawford pulled it up in the dugout, but he pulled it down, when he was out in the field and when he was batting. But other guys like Jalen Davis and others wore their masks most of the time, basically. So, definitely the rules kind of, wane and wax between that. But as far as if the season is going to be completed, they're getting tested every 2 days. They have a private company that's testing all of their DNA from saliva samples. By the way, it's not the poke the brain sample. So they don't have to undergo that. That's just fun. Yeah, it's just a saliva sample. So for them, it's real easy. And they got someone private in Colorado or whatever. So it's interesting because I think that the MLS has already shown what can happen when a whole team goes down. I can't remember what team it was, but a whole team had to pull out of the MLS tournament, the return tournament, a couple of weeks ago because they were decimated by the virus. Most of their team got it. They didn't have enough players. And so I think they're fine if and until that happens. If one of the 30 teams has, and they have a 60-player pool, I get it. But if they have, 10 players, 15 players and coaches or more go down at the same time, that's where it's really going to be a problem because then those teams are going to have to think, okay, do we play all of our AA, AAA guys on the 60-man roster or do we just shut it down? And MLS decided to shut down the games with those teams. I think it was one or two teams that shut down because they had too many positives. So that's where it's going to get interesting. And I don't know if they can go 3 months without a team having that happen despite being tested every 2 days. But then again, I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I want to echo what Jen said as far as Rob's just kind of like, yeah, we're doing this. And so they're going to force it through no matter what. I think our biggest concern is, what about like umpires? Oh, yeah. How are they traveling in a bubble? You know what I mean? How do we know that they are traveling safely from place to place? The teams are in their own bubble, but how do we know that? And then once we have teams start going on the road, we'll see how they start handling that and whether or not players adhere to their bubble. Because let's be honest, these are young men, and some of them are going to make their own choices.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I mean, I do think, though, that you're not going to want to be that guy. I think that's one thing the players are going to respect is they don't want to be the guy who gets it, brings it into the team, infects the whole team. There's that aspect going on as well. So
well, Eric and I were talking about
that they'll be fine. But
yeah, we were talking about how the young guys are going to be fine if they get it. But if that one guy goes out and contracts it and brings it back to the team, and he kills the pitching coach. I mean,
sure,
that sucks. It's like that hasn't happened yet, but the possibility still remains. I mean,
sorry, Bill, we had to play baseball.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But the thing is, they're not gonna get it from playing the baseball. They're gonna get it from their extracurricular activities, right? So
I agree.
Right.
They're in LA and they think, I'll just go out for dinner. You know what I mean? And then, whoops. But I think there's gonna be like cases, but I don't think we're gonna see like the MLS thing with like the entire team. I do think we're gonna see some cases where a guy gets shut down, because there's gonna be so much testing. It's like if it happens, it's gonna get found out, right? And the idea is hopefully you find it right away, and then that guy just gets the hell out of there.
Yep. All right.
Yeah,
go ahead,
the soccer thing. I know there was the women's soccer team. I think in Orlando. One of their players went out to a bar and was living life and didn't tell anyone and then came back and infected her whole team. I mean, there's no laws in Florida, I guess, right now. So,
yeah, no,
it was on par for Florida, but
yeah, pretty much.
This is crazy right now. We're losing people are just so stupid. Are you guys familiar with a YouTube channel called All Gas No Brakes?
No.
If you're not, you should watch it. He's basically documenting America turning into idiocracy, but his most recent video is called 4th of July or whatever, and it's in Michigan, and it's a beach, and it's just completely packed with kids slamming beers and making out, and
there it is.
They
I see
don't
it.
even give a crap.
So baseball players, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that.
Hopefully you won't infect your teams. And
yeah.
Oh.
But that's why we're seeing all these cases, because there's a lot of people out there not giving an F about this, and they're just like, coronavirus isn't real. I don't know anybody with it, so
Yeah, but you made a good point, and then we can move on to some season predictions that we hope gets played. You made a good point about how nobody wants to be that guy that infects the whole team. And, as humans, we feel guilt, and that guilt might help keep that guy home that night instead of going to the club when he's in LA.
Yeah, I mean, they're part of a team. There's camaraderie on a team, right?
Right.
And so they should be looking out for each other.
Yeah, the NBA is going to be starting here at the end of the month. The NFL just announced that they're not going to have any preseason games. So, and they're going to be tested every day. So, all these, sports are trying to do what is right. It just is going to be a question of if we can actually finish it. So, let's see. How many home runs? That's a big question. 60 games. The wins, which I'm going to eliminate from the podcast because wins are stupid. Wins, they were thinking like 6, maybe 7, but 6 was going to lead the league, and it was going to be many guys tied with that. But as far as home runs, we're talking about a little bit more than a third of the season. So if you figure, 50, is at kind of the top end of home runs in a normal season, a third of that is about, 18-ish or so. What do you think is going to, be the ultimate total home run? Because, one of the things I have to say is that a lot of these players will go on a streak, especially in the beginning of the season. A guy who starts off with 3 home runs on opening day. They have a lead on this, title or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, and I'm going to say 18 for myself.
I think someone's going to get to 20.
I was going to say, that's the question. Does anybody get to 20?
I think so. I think somebody's going to, like you said, somebody's going to get on a hot streak, hit, one game they'll have 2, 3 or whatever. And then they'll just get to that number. But to get to like 25 or 30, like that's just crazy.
Yeah,
talk, right?
No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I was going to say like 21, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Matt Williams hit that one year where his strike shortened.
He was at
40.
Didn't he have like
48 or something?
I'm looking
like
this up
that?
right now.
He was on pace.
He was on pace to beat it. Yeah.
So that was 94, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 94 strikes
43
shortened season.
Woo, 43 in
dang.
112 games.
Oh, wow.
God damn.
Well, Sammy Sosa once hit 20 home runs in the month of June.
Sure.
So, it's possible to go on those kinds of streaks. So I'm going to say 20, but that is the question. If anybody, it's like the race to 20. When somebody gets there, it'll probably be like Nelson Cruz again, or somebody like that who's just, swings for the fence every time they're at the plate.
Yeah.
DHs. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Who
right,
got it
more
last year? Was it
DHs.
Alonso? Yeah, Alonso. 53. God damn.
53.
50, that's how many he hit last year?
That's what it says here. Yeah.
Wow. I knew the kid was
finished
good,
at
but
4th with 47. So
53 used to be like, we went ape shit when Griff hit 50 back in the day, like in 95, and then 98 happened.
Dwyer
It
hit
changed all.
49 and 88 or whatever his rookie season. Yeah.
As a rookie, it was huge. Dawson hit 49 that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when hitting 30 was like a thing,
Ah,
Canseco, the first 30-30 guy. Wow. Holy crap. That's 47, 4th place.
That's crazy.
All right, we're going to wrap up this podcast with our predictions for winners. And, we never bring this up next year. Not at all. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to grill you guys one by one. So I'm going to flip a coin here.
you have a 3-sided coin.
Are we talking World Series?
Just kidding.
We're talking titles?
No, we're going to go NL, we're going to go each of the divisions. Who's going to win the division? We're going to skip wild cards. We're going to go to NL champ and AL champ. And, no, we're not skipping wild cards. We're going to have wild cards. Then we're going to go to the champs of the NL and AL. So we're going to skip the division winners, right? And then go to the World Series champ. So that's actually a lot of answers. This is going to be fun. I like this. Eric, I'm choosing you first, just randomly.
Yeah,
Totally
good coin.
random.
Good coin.
Yeah, good coin. NL West.
Dodgers.
NL East.
Braves.
NL Central.
Brewers.
NL Wild Card 1 or 2, doesn't matter. Just wild card.
We're going to go with the Padres and the Reds.
All right. Awesome. AL West.
Houston.
I know, right?
Yep.
AL Central.
White Sox.
All right. AL East.
Yankees.
And then both wild cards.
Tampa, Cleveland.
Nice. NL champ.
I don't want to say it. Oh, man.
Don't say it, Eric.
I know, right?
Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then AL champ.
These guys know, Jen. I will always pick the Dodgers, even though I hate them. When Dodgers and Astros played in the World Series a few years back, I was the only one who picked the Dodgers. Everybody else picked the Astros. And I should have been right because, we find out now that they cheated. Sorry, where are we now?
AL champ.
AL champ. I'm going to go with the White Sox.
Wow. All right. And then World Series champ.
Let's stick with the White Sox. I'm all in on the White Sox this year.
Nice.
Going all the way, huh?
Right? Because then it ends with Dodger heartbreak again. It's just
Sure.
the perfect scenario.
Yeah. Chad, I'm going to skip doing all of that. I'm just going to give you my last ones. I'm going to say that the World Series is going to be the Astros and the Dodgers, and it's going to be the We Hate This World Series. It's going to be the perfect 2020 World Series. And the Astros are going to win it because that's how 2020 goes down.
The Astros are going to win it, huh?
2020 happens to the
That sounds great.
It sounds absolutely appropriate.
Yeah, well, no, that's a rematch of the 2017 World Series, right? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And there's going to be people going ballistic on Twitter and Reddit because they hate it so much.
They hate it so much. Yeah, no, we talked about that, and the fact is, the Dodgers just, were victimized by the Astros in 2017, and we don't care.
I'm like, good job, guys.
Bang those trash cans.
Yeah,
yes.
My belief is that you should do anything and everything in your power to not let the Dodgers win the World Series, and the Astros did that. So
tough luck, Dodgers.
Oh man.
Yep.
Jen, NL West.
Oh gosh, yeah, probably the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. NL East.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm on the same track mostly as Eric. I think the Braves.
Yeah.
no love for the Mets this year, huh?
Oh, because the Mets are gonna Met. Like they can't.
Yeah, they're gonna Met.
No love for the
Exactly.
Nationals.
I think the Nationals could be a wild card,
Okay.
and I
Might
think
be
the
a wild
Giants
card.
could be the other wild card. I'm keeping that optimism alive.
Yes. Love it. Well, if they win 35, they will.
That's
be.
right.
All right.
Do as
NL
I say, Giants.
NL Central. What do you think?
I think Brewers too.
Okay, so you have Washington as one wild card. What about the other one?
Giants.
Do the
All
Reds
right.
suck this year? Did I miss something?
Ah.
The Reds are pretty good.
I genuinely forget that the Reds are a team sometimes.
I know. Are they?
I
Do
forgot
they
about the
play?
Mets, and they're the reigning World Series champs.
Sure.
So.
All right. AL West, Jen.
I feel like the A's, I know that they can be super inconsistent. They're going to be one of those teams
Yeah.
that's going to, I think, dominate the West, or they're going to miss the playoffs completely.
Yeah, remember this is a strange year, right? So
I mean,
anything
the
can
A's
happen.
are like the kings of having an amazing streak, right? So
Mhm.
they just have one streak and that's it. They're in.
That's it.
True.
All
That's
right.
true. They just need one this year.
Yeah.
AL
Just
Central.
need to win 20 in a row.
Central Indians.
Yeah. All
See,
right.
I also forgot about the Twins. Yeah, there's a lot of teams out there.
AL
man.
East.
Yeah, the Yankees. Sadly.
Got it. AL wild card 1 and 2.
I think the Twins and Tampa Bay.
All right. How about your NL champ?
Oh gosh. I'm not gonna say the Dodgers just because I can't in my soul.
You stick to your guns. I appreciate it.
I'll die on this hill. I think it'd be really fun if it was the Brewers.
Yeah. And then your AL champ.
Trying to think of who I picked to win the wild card. Yeah, probably the Yankees, because I would hate it.
And then your World Series champ.
I'm gonna stick with not picking teams that I can't stand, so I'll say the Brewers.
Brewers, yeah.
That's not a prediction I ever thought I would make. Brewers 2020 World Series champions, but there we go.
I wish I could enjoy the Brewers, but living among a Cubs wife and having Cubs friends, I can't enjoy the Brewers properly because they all hate them so much, and it just clouds the judgment. It sucks.
Eric, I didn't get your AL champ and World Series champ.
They're always like the most boring team in baseball to me. Like they're like, Hall of Famer guys are just like Paul Molitor.
You forget that they're a team, and then you're like,
this guy, the most boring baseball player ever.
The answer to that is White Sox and White Sox.
Okay. Oh, I see what I did here. All right, Willie, you got nothing for the other ones? You just want to go all the way to the
That's just
the
too
end?
much, man. I don't care.
Too much? All right. I get it.
Pretty much all of Eric's stuff, except I'm picking it's going to be the Astros Dodgers the World Series. I do think though that people are you guys are all sleeping on the Nationals and the Reds.
I picked the Nats to win the wild card.
Yeah, I picked the Reds to make the wild card.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah, I wanted to last year. I think I was high on the Reds. They were supposed to turn the corner, and they still didn't.
And they still didn't.
But I never go. I mean, can you believe the Reds won the title in '90? Like, that was so long ago. That's
all right.
It was a long time ago.
Here's the 20 greatest Milwaukee Brewers of all time. And
Oh,
tell me
God.
how little
Paul Molitor.
These guys.
Greg Vaughn.
Ryan Braun. Paul Molitor. Teddy Higuera, Cecil, like I don't care about any of the names.
I don't know half of those people you just said.
Oh, you're not a big Don Money fan?
No, sadly.
By the way, what was the guy's name that Ty tweeted at us? Who was like the Giants' name? Was it Champ Summers?
Yeah.
Champ Summers, dude.
What name? I told I was gonna track that guy down.
He was a Giant too. We were all like, "Oh, we got to find this guy," and then I looked him up, and he's dead.
He's dead.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Why don't you get a response from him? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, so I'm going with LA for the West, the NL West, Braves for the East, Cubs for the Central, Milwaukee and St. Louis for the wild cards. For the American League, I'm going Oakland AL West, Indians Central, Yankees East, and then Rays and the White Sox for the wild cards. I'm going the Dodgers, the NL champs, the Yankees, the AL champs, with the Yankees winning the World Series, which is really the worst World Series that I would want to see, which sucks. But,
I would
whatever.
rather watch the Yankees win than the Astros or the Dodgers.
I agree with that. No,
but I would still hate it.
Yeah, I would still hate it. Exactly. It's not a good thing. Either way you want to slice it. Ugh. Blech.
But like 2020 is the year of bad people, like, not getting what they deserve. And that's
that's an understatement.
Good people are taking it from behind, and bad people
from behind. Oh, crap. All right, so that's going to be it for episode 199. We almost made it to 200, but Willie, open invitation to episode 200 in a week when we review the first week of the Giants regular season, which we're totally excited about. And Jen, you're totally welcome to join if you want to.
Oh, thank you.
4-2 when we do the next podcast.
Yeah, 4-2, exactly.
That's right.
Actually, wait, no, they're going to be 5-2 after their first. Is it 7 games with the Dodgers?
Well, they have 7 of their first 12 games are in Dodger Stadium, which is just
we're going to go 5-2 in those games.
It's rude.
Well, no, it's a big point because you guys pointed out the fact that the Giants do have a shot in a 60-game season. But if they played 12 games or 7 games of the first 12 in Dodger Stadium, if they lose 5 of them, let's say, that kind of puts them behind the 8 ball. So, I think they need to win at least 4 games. 4 games of those first 7 in Dodger Stadium to have a shot. But
it's home field advantage just isn't going to be as much of a thing this year.
It's not it's only it's not the same. It's
only going to manifest itself in getting the last at bat. Last year the home teams only had a .529 winning percentage. Yeah. And so it's not much. And they studied a German soccer league. Home teams, their winning percentage decreased by about 10% or 0.10% this year without fans. So apparently fans and that influence really is part of the home field experience. So the Giants, we've talked about this in the past. They could go into Dodger Stadium and tear it up because there's nobody there to bother them, and they could just take care of business.
I think, though, baseball has a bigger impact because the field is different than a game like soccer. True. But, the fan influence is huge. And also, I think one of the biggest things is not having to travel, like being in your home, not a hotel. So those factors are still there, but the fans being taken out is a huge deal. Yeah, we start with 4 in Dodger Stadium? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
First 4, and then
3 of them are on national television, thankfully, because I'm blacked out of Giants games on MLB TV. I live in Las Vegas, and I'm blacked out. MLB TV is
terrible. So all you got to do, Eric.
Oh, I go to Reddit.
Get a VPN.
Yeah.
Say that you're in a different city than you are, and boom, black.
Well, it's funny because with the poker stuff, I have to make sure I'm in Nevada, so I can't. You know what I mean?
Well, you turn it off then.
Yeah, turn it off.
I'm using Reddit anyways. So far, it's not that. Plus, I get Dodger and Angels games, so I'll see half the games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's true.
All right, so that's going to do it for episode 199. Really, probably episode 217, but we're not going to count. For myself, you can follow me at ChadK21, Eric at 2OutHits with the number 2, collectively at TortureCast. Also find us on Facebook. Of course, Jen at Jen Cosgriff, and Willie at Willie Dills. You guys want to pimp anything?
Twitch streams. I've been doing a lot of those during quarantine. So if you like Hearthstone and me, twitch.tv/Willie where you can find that.
Yeah, Willie's got some good stuff, guys. So if you play Hearthstone or some of these games, he's got some really fun streams. So I highly encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, I always have a good time on my stream.
Yeah, I've got nothing to.
You got nothing, Jen. Your life is kind of like mine. I do a podcast once in a while, and it's like, I got nothing. Oh, whatever.
Well. We can pimp that. We may try some new things this season with the podcast. Maybe do some post-game streams or something like that if we can get some things worked out. So I think that we've got some ideas in the hopper since we're all locked in right now. So we can pimp that for ourselves.
Yeah, no, we actually have some sponsors that we're working with that are just on the precipice of ready to go. And, of course, some of the, technical issues with streaming, we'll get those figured out. So... anyone else got anything to pimp? Are we all good?
Nope.
All right. So thank you so much for listening to episode 199. We will be back for our first recap of the first week of the Giants season, episode 200. Hopefully we'll have Willie with us, and we'll see you then. And maybe Jen will want to come along as well. Until then, boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at TortureCast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.